Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by Hockey Think Tank U, an online community for all hockey players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. With Hockey Think Tank U, you get an exclusive Hockey Think Tank resource or video every single day on an app right there on your phone or desktop, if that's what you're using as well. Whether it's Mindset Monday to help you be at your best, Tactics Tuesday to help you better understand the X's and O's of the game, Parent Thursday to get unbiased guidance to help you navigate the youth hockey journey for your child. There is something in Hockey Think Tank U for everybody. And if you love the podcast, what we've actually done is taken the best clips from our 7+ years of doing it, and it's all in one place, categorized by those things right in Hockey Think Tank U. Also, every Friday, I make myself available in the afternoon for anybody that wants to hop on a Zoom and talk some shop, or if you're a parent, you have some questions for your kids. We call it office hours every Friday afternoon. Make myself available to have a two-way conversation with you guys. It's what I absolutely love to do. So join the 250 plus people already in and sharing their knowledge and perspective with each other, and gaining even more from some of my friends at the higher levels of the game who have shared their expertise within Hockey Think Tank U as well. And for the thousands you're probably paying in this crazy hockey ecosystem, the price to join is only half of a hockey stick. But we are people of our word, and we want hockey to be accessible to everyone. So if that half a hockey stick is not something that you can swing, just message me and we will give it to you for free. Absolutely free, no questions asked. So the link to join will be at the bottom of the show notes to make it easy for you to find, or go to thehockeythinktank.com and find it there too. Now to today's podcast. Our guest from Northern New Jersey, right outside New York City. He played his junior hockey in the USHL before going on to an awesome 4-year career at the University of Michigan. After a couple of years pro, he is back as a coach in the hockey world, running Topline Hockey out there, not just in the New York City area, but the outskirts and all over the country, guys. And he's even going international now. His name is Justin Selman. Awesome guy. This was such a great podcast where we talk about youth hockey, and then we get into hockey development. We absolutely nerded out on hockey development. It was so much fun. And speaking of nerds, let's bring on the talent of the podcast, one Jeffrey J. Lavecchio. Vex, what's shaking today, man?
Not much, bro. Just, end of June here, July just starting. It's my anniversary to my wife last night.
You know what my favorite part of your anniversary is? It's Canada Day. Your anniversary is Canada Day. Our Independence Day up north. Jeffrey Lavecchio.
What's the...
Were you say my country?
My country, tis of thee. What's how does the Canadian national anthem start?
I'm not telling you.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm like totally blanking.
Oh,
Canada. Dude, their national anthem. I mean, ours is amazing. Big fan of their national anthem. Just from how it sounds and musicality standpoint. But anyways,
absolutely. And brother, by the time this comes out, it's gonna be past July 4th as well. Happy America Day. 250 years.
What is it? Semi-bicentennial or semi-quincentennial, I think it is. 250. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Semi-quincentennial. Yeah.
I will take your word for it.
Quincentennial is 500.
Western Michigan.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, what up? Love the jersey. Yeah, dude, I made a bunch of really cool shirts with 1776 to 2026, and like a big eagle and a flag and my logo. I made it like red, white, and blue. Sold like 100 shirts in one day, like most shirts I've ever sold. Yeah, crazy. And like made like $1 on each one. I just made them like basically gave them away for what I made them for. And it's just so cool to see all the guys buying them and random people stopping in the gym. I said, hey, anybody who wants to get these, coming to the gym. So had a ton of people coming in the gym that I hadn't seen in a minute, or people I've never met before, to buy them. So that was pretty cool today.
Very cool, man. That is really cool.
Yeah.
So happy July 4th. Happy Canada Day to everybody that's listening, if you are in North America. And yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. Like World Cup, Team USA in the round of 16 for the first time in a long time, and then a very long time after that. Crazy. Got to watch the game with our cousin Vinny last night. from when we're recording this. And yeah, man, just very, very cool vibes going on right now with the World Cup and the U.S. team.
I loved seeing all the videos of the world travelers coming to the U.S. and like falling in love with the U.S.
Yeah,
like,
so many people are, right?
Very, very cool. I think a lot of people are upset about that, which is hilarious. It's like, yeah, we have an unreal country, guys. Let's have some patriotism here. Best country ever made. Self-taught. Thank you very much. Pops, no lessons. Wedding singer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Best guitar player in the world.
Yes, that
no
I know.
lessons, self-taught. Thank you very much, Pops. I know I kind of blended them there. But anyways, yeah, no, dude, it's really, really cool. And it's exciting. Anytime the U.S. is doing good stuff, it's just cool for all of us. You know, we want to be the best. We want to be the leader in the world and in sports and in everything. And I think that's just like what we are about on this podcast, always trying to do our best. And let's go America.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of cool things happening. So I last week went out to Minnesota to speak. It was a speaking engagement, and the Minnesota Wild, like, this is the cool part about, like, especially a team like the Wild. It, depending on where you live, if you're in an NHL market, like some NHL teams are really good with outreach, some are awful. If anybody does it the best, it's probably in Minnesota. And so what they did is, and they've been doing this for years now, but it is a leadership development day for any captain or any player that's in a leadership group of a high school team, men's and women's, and their coaching staff to come down to Minneapolis and St. Paul. And they bring in some guest speakers, and they had some great speakers, Matt Boldy and Taylor Heisey, both U.S. Olympic gold medalists for the men and the women. They came and did a little panel. Like, it was a really, really cool thing. So bravo to the Minnesota Wild for that community outreach. And again, like, Minnesota, there you go. There's a reason why the best are the best. But it was really cool, man. I got to go down and like hear some really cool speakers, have a little bit of leadership development day. And as you're hearing this podcast, one of our Friday face-offs coming up is going to be things that I've learned from being there and hearing some of the really cool people tell some stories and give some leadership advice. So really, really exciting. Dude, leadership development is everything. You can't win a championship without having unbelievable player leaders in your locker room. Never. Like, won't happen. Sorry. Like, yeah, it's a must. It's a have to have. And then obviously, like, our job as you know, as adults in the room with the hockey world, like, we got to develop great people. First and foremost. And, you know, everybody leads in their own way. And that was one of the main themes that I took out of it, is there's not one right way to be a leader. You know, everybody can lead in their own way with their superpower. And yeah, man, it's just really, really cool. So I wanted to throw that out there. Like, you guys, if wherever you're watching, like, approach your NHL club, because this was really cool.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And talking about leadership, man, I had 3 guys from First Form in the gym today that are like higher up guys at First Form. And I, you know, I always talk to the group that I'm training in the morning, every group, like we talked before. And I, you know, say some words to try and get in their heads about, you know, bring them where their feet are. And I was like, you know, you got 3 guys here that are all ex-athletes, and they're all killing life after their sports are over, you know, helping the world with what they do. And also they're all 3 really successful guys. And I was like, and they all show up every day the exact same way that you guys show up in here and at practice. And I just wanted to show you these 3 guys who are, you know, high ups in a big, massive company that makes a ton of money, super successful. And they live the same way that you guys are living and trying to live every day to go after your goals. So, like, I just want to show you, like, these are 3 examples of what you're doing in here right now is, yes, this is making you better hockey, but I promise you guys, it's going to help you to be successful in life after. And here's 3 guys who are showing you, like, I'm not lying, you know? Yeah. So that was really cool. It's funny you're talking about leadership today on a thing like that. It's really cool what Minnesota's doing, man. And obviously they're bringing in the best, bringing in the big gun, bringing in you, buddy. Love it.
No, it was really well done. Really, just a really cool idea. Like, I have a couple of people I know from around the NHL that work in, like, those growth departments. I've given them that. I'm like, you got to do it. Not, and maybe it's not just high school captains, maybe it's club, you know, whatever, house, rec, but just a really cool idea. Okay. So before we do get over to the people that support us, and before we get over to our conversation here with Justin, we've been picking out a video clip of our Hockey Think Tank U community. And these are things, again, every day you get it. Again, it's like a social media app, right? So it's like really easy to use. Every day you get a piece of content from the Hockey Think Tank, clips from previous podcasts, Tactics Tuesday, where I'm writing stuff up, at a whiteboard, Wellness Wednesday, when Vex and other strength coaches from around the country give their, advice on how to train off the ice. Like every week we have something. And so it's just really, really cool. Really, really cool. I'm like, so many more people are signing up. And now that we're talking about it a little bit more, and like, it's been a really, really cool thing. And so this is just an example here, guys, of like one of the clips. So this is from Barry Smith. Every Saturday, there's a hockey specific clip that goes out for all the coaches that are in here or the parents that want to show their players. Barry Smith, 7-time Stanley Cup winning coach, Penguins with Lemieux and Yager, Yzerman, Fedorov, Lidstrom in Detroit, and then Kane Taves, he was in development here with Chicago. But here's Barry. It's a great hockey clip for any coach out there.
We have a lot of skill coaches and skill clinics and skill practices, which is great for an individual to be able to improve his skill toolbox so they can do certain things. But the problem we have is it's individual. I'm not passing to somebody, I'm not receiving a pass, I'm not reading off somebody, I'm not chasing somebody, I'm just going around different innate objects on the ice, and they're innate. They're not moving. They're not poke checking you. They're not making you go right or left. You see them and you just keep going around them. So it's good for a starter, but you have to go from there to actual replication of the game. So if something's on the ice, it's going to be moving at me or chasing me or angling me, and I have to get used to that. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, because hockey is played with 5 players normally, 5-on-5, then I have to be able to use my teammates. So if I don't know how to receive a pass, give a pass, know when to pass, or get open for a puck, what good am I? I don't care if I go around all the pylons in the world. I can't play.
All right, so it is summertime. I've been in a few rinks and seen a few things. And again, summer's probably, maybe a little bit more for the going around cones and tires and skill stuff and things like that. But dude, I feel like it's all I'm seeing. Like all I'm seeing is this just like isolated skill stuff. And like, man, like again, time and place, guys, but small area games, like all the stuff Barry's talking about here, the game, first of all, defenders are not standing still. They're moving and they make you read and react to what they're doing. And then you have teammates. Hockey is not 1 versus 1. It's 5 versus 5, and having the ability to move pucks, find space, close space. Like that's hockey sense, which is what all the coaches at the highest levels of the game are absolutely clamoring for. So Skies won 7 Stanley Cups, travels all over the world talking with youth federations about these kinds of things. And I just thought it was a great clip to bring up here. I'm sure you're in the rink quite a bit, obviously, and probably seeing the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's a time and a place, there's a time and a place to work on and I feel like it's the same thing as training. Like you reverse engineer the summer, like what do you need in your individual game? And what are like the really small skills where you can work on things like that, like picking up rims and things like that, where maybe you just start just picking up rims. And then you move to picking up rims and making a pass. And then you move to picking up the rim, making a pass, jumping in the hole to get the puck back. Like you just keep adding, sequencing until then towards the end of the summer or right before tryouts, if you're a junior player or something like that, like then you're playing scrimmaging like all out and you're, creating, controls in the scrimmages and things like that to focus on different skills. And then you go into all out scrimmaging and all out types of things like that at the very end of summer, right before the season starts. At least I think that's the best way to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Whenever I hear Jeffrey Lavecchio say periodize, that's when I'm totally in.
It.
Great points, man. Obviously, yeah, great points. So, hey, this is the stuff that you get inside Hockey Think Tank U. Again, the link will be at the bottom of the show notes. It's been an absolute blast for myself to get to know people who are in this community and be able to answer questions and talk to you. And it's just been really, really cool. So Hockey Think Tank U, check it out. Now, it's time to thank the people that support our podcast. First and foremost, our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for all your coaching education needs. Thousands of drilled whiteboard explanations from really high-level hockey people, ability to go in, draw up your drills, build a drill library, not just for you and all of your drills, but for the entire organization, filled with practice plans and anything and everything hockey development that you have. Just an unbelievable value add for any coach and youth organization, because you get this for all your coaches if you wanted to, but also they're for families now, baby. So they got parent education and parent support. So many great people from the highest levels of the game, again, giving their advice to hockey parents out there, and for kids too. They have unbelievable content on there for kids. So check out the family accounts, check out the whole organization accounts, icehockeysystems.com, the best. Jeffrey, go.
I want to say thank you to Train Heroic. You guys know it's where the way that I'm able to deliver such quality training at such a low, affordable price, where it's me demonstrating and coaching. There's access to me. There's videos of everything we do. Every workout is tracked for every player. It's just unbelievable. And there's a reason 34,000 plus athletes have trained with me online in some way or another since COVID. So just a massive thank you to Train Heroic at helping me deliver quality training. If you're a team, organization, any level, juniors, I've worked with Division I NCAA, Division III NCAA, USHL, NAL, EHL, NA3, everybody, down to kids teams who want to do workouts at home to provide more for their organization and their members at a low price. So reach out to me. Love to be able to help you guys.
Boom. Love it. Also want to thank Helios Hockey, one of the best hockey products on the market. It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads. It gives you real-time data and feedback on your play. Specifically, two things, one of them being a hustle score. So every time you move, that thing lights up and tells you how fast you're going and how hard you're working. And you can compete with your team on it. You can compete with players at your birth year from all over the world. It's just, it's awesome, man. But also skating, huge on skating development. It's not just a program, it's an app that you have. And this sensor, guys, this sensor, when it goes, it links up to your video. And you can get your shifts or your reps from practice cut up for you, like on an iPad, on an iPhone, from Live Barn, directly after your practice or after your game. Like, talk about development, the ability to like not have to cut down your video and have it like on your device pretty much instantly. Like, pretty amazing stuff, to say the least.
It's unbelievable. We used it with almost all of our advising clients. It's really mentorship all season long. The ones that had it, it was the easiest to get their shifts, their practices, their games. We had access to all their video. It was so easy.
Yeah. So go to helioshockey.com today. And if you use the if you use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, you will get a 20% discount on your pro annual or pro 24-month subscription. So go to helioshockey.com today. And lastly, thank you to all of our amazing listeners. We love you guys. We're over 7.5 years into this. We continue to grind this baby out once a week for a long time. 7+ years, man. And so if you can, for us, the one thing that you can do to help us on our end is anytime you interact with our podcast on your podcast app. So by following us, shooting us a rating or a review, by downloading us, commenting, even if it's on social media too, like we want to get better. And so if you could just do those couple things for us, and we've been doing this, absolutely been doing this. And it's because of really, really awesome people that we get to have on the podcast. And Justin Selman of Topline Hockey is certainly one of them. If you're not following them on social media, follow them and check out all their stuff that they do. So without further ado, here we go with Justin Selman. We are so excited to have back for this episode of the podcast. We got round 2. He's out in the eastern United States, where my wife is from, in beautiful New Jersey. The dirty Jersey, as some call it, outside of Jersey. But Justin Selman. Justin, how are we doing today, man?
I'm good. I still call it the dirty Jersey too.
Nice.
That's it. I'm doing good. It. Good to see you guys. I'm really excited to be hopping on. Vex and I talk all the time, Toph sometimes too. So it's good to connect, and I'm excited to jump in.
Yeah. And you are a University of Michigan graduate. The day that we are recording, the news has come out that they have landed, no pun intended, Landon DuPont, who potentially will be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, not this coming year, but the year after. So very, very cool timing for this podcast. But hey, for for this, man. So if anybody, we were talking before the show here, like we would love to talk some hockey. Justin has an incredible journey in this game, growing up in Jersey, playing at Michigan, playing pro hockey, all that kind of stuff. If you want to listen to that, go to the previous episode that we did with him. I can't remember what number it was, but a couple years back. But want to talk some hockey here. And so you run a company called Topline Hockey, do a ton of hockey development stuff, not just in New Jersey, but in the Eastern United States and beyond. Tell me about, this is summertime, right? Like it's the summer, and on social media, you're seeing all of these different things about what kids should and shouldn't be doing in the summer and stuff like that. I'm sure you have a ton of players of all different ages and levels that come to you for advice, and parents on what they should be doing in the summer. If I'm a parent or if I'm a player that's looking to maximize my abilities, got a kind of a dream in this game to do some cool things in it, what are the questions that you're getting from these people, and kind of like, well, how would you advise people to really attack the summer when it comes to hockey development?
Well, I think it's funny you use the word advise, because I don't charge at all to give advice. I think we do a lot of stuff with the players on and off the ice, and it just kind of comes with the territory. We've been around it, and we'll get the question, is this tournament worth it? Is this price worth it for the tournament? Or, any of these elite exposure opportunities. And, I constantly am reminding the parents that until you're 16, maybe even, 17, there's no exposure to be had besides the parents in the stands talking and building these fake lists of, this is the top 2014 born player in North America. According to who? There's no scouts. And then you get these camps and you get these tournaments that now are saying, University of Michigan or BU or, Princeton has a coach there. And I'm sure they do. And I'm sure those coaches care a lot. And, I have a ton of respect for those guys. And we've done things where we're evaluators and we're at these events as well. But it's not for an exposure opportunity. I think it's for more of an educational purpose, to grab those coaches, learn from them, ask them the questions. And I think there's a time and a place, but it's gotten so crazy. I'm not sure if just here, but all across the country, it seems like every weekend there's the Team USA is playing against Team Canada at, the 2016 level, but there's no selection. They sign up, they get the jersey, they're really excited, they're proud. And now these kids are announcing commitments at 13 years old to their next AAA team or to their next tournament team. And we have a lot of conversations with parents around March. They all want to get bigger. They all want to get stronger. They all want to get faster. And then I'm like, okay, so here's a good schedule for that. At least 3 days in the gym, ideally 4, focusing on your recovery, minimizing your, time on the ice, unless it's tactical training where you're focused on something, especially early in the spring and summer. They nod their heads, they listen. And then, their schedule turns out to have 6 tournaments, 4 of them out of the country. They're missing school. They're coming home at 2 a.m. on a Sunday night, getting up for Monday for school, leaving on a Wednesday. They're really not training because they're just constantly playing games. They're losing 6 pounds in a weekend, playing 6 games, 8 games, in the 100-degree heat in Nashville or wherever they are. And then they come back and, their lifts go down. They feel tired on the ice. They want to take a few days off. And next thing you know, it's July. So it's tough. It is.
It's a battle. It's a battle. Like,
it's a battle.
And I try not to be like, well, what was I doing at their age? Because I loved it. So it's a little bit different when you're absolutely love the gym. And then B, I knew that was my only hope, was I had to be head and shoulders above everybody else because of my hockey playing ability, which was good, but not at the level I wanted to be. So it's I have to be dialed at this. I was 6 days a week until I was in the off season, until I was probably 28. And then I went to 5, and I don't ever want to tell a kid oh, you need to do this, but thinking you're going to just miss so much time in the gym, but that your goal is to be elite, and you tell everyone I want to be elite and this is what I'm going to do, and then you miss all this time. I don't know what to say other than you don't actually want to be elite.
I think it's a FOMO thing, and I think it's a lack of education thing too, because now you see all these lists. They just keep getting put out every week, and these articles that you could pay to have written about your kid, and then it's sent around and circulated. And then, it's like,
oh yeah, that happens, Vex.
Yeah, what? It's like Scouting News or like all of these, third-party sources are doing write-ups that's written by the kid's dad, and then they're sending it in. They're getting, a cut on the article, and then that's getting circulated as he's the best, 2010 born defenseman coming out of, the East Coast. But it's not the case. And, listen, we're a training company. We don't do summer teams. We don't do tournaments. We don't have any affiliations with teams. And I'm not saying you need to skate every day. That's not the message. Honestly, what we do a lot of is off-ice training and synthetic ice, just shooting specific skill work. Just like you, Vex, I was a gym guy, and that's how I made it, honestly. Like, I had some skill, but I outworked everybody I could. And going into Michigan, like, I knew I had to be stronger and faster, and that's what I did. I trained with Ben Prentice and spent, 5 days in the gym, and he was even just like you. You guys shouldn't be skating till July. And I get it. Like, if you're a kid who's 10 and you need to work on your skating, definitely. But, a lot of that power, and I don't need to tell you, that force development comes from off ice. Like, you need to be able to put force into the ground. And if you're weak off the ice, you're going to be weak on the ice. Spending a week with a power skating instructor or spending a day a week, throughout the summer is going to help you get technical, but you need that energy system to be able to do it. And if you're constantly burning it out, it's just never going to be there.
So true, man.
So let me put a bow on this and give maybe a little bit of a deeper, different perspective on the conversation that we're having right now about summer hockey. First of all, in any type of hockey, there's no such thing as exposure until you're 14 or 15 years old, because that's when the junior drafts are. And even then, we know that even if you get drafted into a junior league, the chances of you having success in that junior league, you still got to get better, because you're not going to be going to play for that league for another couple of years. And so there's no such thing as exposure before 14 years old. It doesn't exist. And
do you guys think that the trickle down from what's happening in the NCAA and now with major junior being more of a factor for these kids in the US, that maybe, I do a little bit. I think they're feeling the pressure that they need their name to be something by 13 instead of 15. And maybe
I think it's been happening for the last 10 years.
Yeah,
Internet.
I think everything with major junior, being able to play college has certainly caused a rise, and caused a little bit more of the crazy. But I think, like Vex said, I think this stuff has been going on for a long time. And, you can point to USHL drafts and major junior drafts being at 15 or 14 out west for the WHL. You can point to the NTDP 40-man camp going into the NTDP tryouts. You could even go so far as putting it down into Brick and Quebec, right? I know, because I have family members and nephews that are of that age right now and that talent level, that people are jockeying for different quote unquote exposure opportunities because of the Brick. And this is at 8-9 years old. So where there's a will, there's a way for all this kind of stuff.
Right. But it's a fine balance, because you want the game to grow, right? And you want that intention to train for something. And, to be elite, you want to have that recognition. But I feel like kids are maybe more so parents are just jumping the gun and hoping for it sooner instead of putting the work in and getting the result at the end. And it'll be there, So
totally. So let me flip that a little bit and add a different perspective to what you just said. I think a lot of people think of being elite as recognition. Being elite is you're just really good at the thing that you're doing. The recognition comes after being really, really good at what you're doing. So what I, would say to the people that are listening is when you think about your son or your daughter becoming elite, it's not about the recognition. It's about how good they are at the sport. So put your time and effort and money and communication into what's going to make my son or daughter better and better and better and better and better. Now, that's not to say that there's different exposure opportunities that are out there that might help, or having the right agent or advisor, or all of these things. I hate talking in like black and white, do this, don't do this, and as a college coach, you talked about it earlier, Justin, like I did used to work some of those camps in the summer, and would always look at it more from like an experience standpoint. Oh, these kids get to come and learn from college coaches. Now, every once in a while, was there a kid out there that we were like, who is this kid? Like, ooh, I'm going to have to keep track. I remember Tage Thompson was that kid working a camp out in Boston, and most of us didn't know who Tage Thompson was. And then we were like, who is this kid? And then all of a sudden we were like, okay, like we got a player here, but that's like so few and far between. But like, I don't think there's anything wrong if you have the time and the money and you want to do it every so often, to be like, hey, there's college coaches here, there's junior coaches here, I get to get on the ice with them and hear from them. It's going to make me better. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we're not saying, and I don't think you would say this either, just like, don't do any of this stuff. Like, you have to be in the gym and this and that and blah, 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 blah. But like, pick and choose your battles. Exposure doesn't matter in the summer. Like, it really doesn't. And just make an informed decision with all the information that you have, and just understand that, like, hey, run the race to the right finish line. And that is your kid, if they have a dream of playing college hockey, being really, really, really good at hockey by the time they're 16 years old.
For sure. I think the tournaments are a good measuring stick. It's a good chance for you to say, like, all right, it's July, I'm going to play in this tournament now. I've been training for a few months since my season ended. Let's see where I stack up against kids from Michigan or Boston or, Chicago, LA. But it just seems like right now, you go to these tournaments and they shuffle the deck and you're playing against the same kids in different color jerseys that you played against all season. And it's tough to see. But my advice to everybody has always been, like, follow the path that's going to get you to the USA Hockey camps. That's where it happens.
I like that you said that, and I like that Toph metaphorically said, run the race to the right finish line. Like, you have to decide, what is the finish line? What is the goal? When I'm talking about kids and intention and why are we making the decisions we're making, you have to decide the end goal. And then you work backwards. What does it take to get to that goal? So if you're saying my goal is to play USHL, OHL, some type of high level junior at least, and like ultimately college and pro would be awesome. Well, then you need to decide that's the finish line, and then decide what you need to do to get there. If your goal is, I just love hockey, I want to play hockey all summer, I'm a whatever level player, cool. Totally different development. Maybe you don't even care about development because you just play hockey for fun. Play in all the tournaments you want. What we're trying to tell you guys is just, you have to decide what are the goals, and then you decide the actions you take.
Yeah. And I want to add to that. So, Justin, you mentioned the USA Hockey camps, and those are obviously a huge deal, right? So for people that don't know, USA Hockey, through the affiliates, select the top 200-ish players in the country to come together and have a big kind of showcase. It's like 16 and 17. There's tournaments that you can make a team for to go compete in international competition. And it's awesome. In fact, you and I played, 3 years at those and had a great experience. And those are a huge deal. It's great to do it. But the other thing, like, you talk about running the race to the right finish line too. And this is where, like, the finish line sometimes can even get moved further and further back. And like, the thing that I want to say right now to that is that I forget, I don't know the numbers, so I'm not going to say the numbers, but USA Hockey has done some data digging on those camps, and the turnover from selects 15 to 16 and 16 to 17 is insane. If you think that it's the same 200 kids for the most part that are going every year for those 3 years, it's not even close. Like, the turnover rate is huge. Well, why is that? Well, that's because there are some kids that are getting better and there are some kids that aren't. There are some kids that are hitting growth spurts. There are some kids that aren't. There are some kids that are getting burnt out from all this stuff that we're talking about right now because it's a job at 15 years old, that don't have the love of the game to get better and don't get there at 16. And then on the flip side, there's kids who absolutely love the game, and get maybe a great opportunity at 15 years old with an organization, and they take it and run with it and go. So, like, winning the finish line can be moved even
100%.
further and further back. It shouldn't be moved further and further younger. It's further and further back because kids get better, you know?
I was cut from 15s. And then I made 16s, and then I slapped the cheeks off of 17s. Toph and I won the gold. I had probably 50 goals in 3 games. You know, it was part of my life back then. But, I got cut from 15s. I thought the world was over, but development is what we focused on, me, my family, my parents, whatever, with our decisions, instead of going to 8,000 tournaments over the season.
For sure. Yeah, I remember. I mean, rest in peace, Johnny Gaudreau. We were the same class, and he was the leading scorer in our league ever since he was, 6 years old. And he got cut the first 2 years from the district. And then our 17 year, we ended up being roommates for the Helenka tournament. So that's a crazy, it just goes to show you and all that stuff with Johnny, but size, obviously development, he just continued to do his thing, played his game, and it worked for him at every level. But yeah, I mean, I just use that USA Hockey experience as a good benchmark when you're looking at a million different events. And I'm just like, whatever's going to help you get to there. If you can get yourself there, put yourself in the right light to at least get a look to go to, either the top one or the second one. I think they go to Europe at the first stage of it. And then they kind of cut guys down. If you can get there, you're on the right radar for whatever that means. That's at least a subjective radar, in my opinion.
Yeah. And the funny thing too, Vex, I did this years ago, but I looked at, you remember USHR?
Yeah. What was that?
So USHR was the website back in the day. To be honest, I don't even know if it still exists, but it was the website that would go to those tournaments and rank everybody, So at some point I went back to 2000 or 99 or something like that. And I looked at our age group, because obviously we knew a lot of those kids in our age group. And I looked at the rankings, right, of every kid. And you had kids that were all the way at the bottom that were household NHL players. You had kids that were at the top that nobody's ever heard of except for us, because we played in that camp with them. And it just continues to even go to show you, even if you do make it, quote unquote, at that age, there's still so much development should be done. I mean, we all know Nar very, very well. He's the head coach at the University of Michigan. He still views his job as a development coach. I have to get these kids ready. We obviously want to win a national championship, but we have to get these kids ready for the NHL. And so it's just kind of crazy, how this just kind of push and pull between exposure and development, winning and development. Development should win every time, every single time. You even look at it in the NHL now, how much they're talking about development, because it's a younger league. They got to get their young kids in there and cheap contracts to contribute really, everything is about development. And for some reason, the age, that it should be the most important, and that is youth hockey. It's swayed so much further in the other direction towards the winning and the, the exposure and type of stuff. It's just wild.
100%.
Just wild. So let's talk about development, because, I would love to just nerd out on some hockey right now, actually nerd out on some hockey. And so, you run an awesome skill development company there in Topline. And so give us a little bit of a window into what you think is really, really important. The types of, let's just start first with the types of skills that translate. You played pro hockey, you played college hockey. Now you're working with a ton of youth players all the way up. What do you think are the most important skills that translate, that you really try to instill in your players as you're working with them from a hockey development standpoint?
So it's funny, there's two ways to look at it. And I think we as youth hockey development coaches face a different battle than a Belfry or an Oates or a guy who's working with, a top end NHL player. I think you see a lot of things, and I hate to go back to the Instagram, but you see a lot of things on Instagram that are very flashy and eye catchy, whether, it's flipping things over, sliding things under, tons of cutbacks and tons of multiple stacked skills in one rep. And I think we do some of that sometimes, to keep kids engaged and to hammer home repetition in an individual rep. But, I think the things that translate the most are heads up hockey plays and, reading and reacting off of, quick decisions. And, we do a ton of wall work, ton of picking pucks up off the wall, getting your head up and making decisions. But, obviously skating is a huge thing. We always are hammering home, and that's changed a lot in the last, 5 or 6 years with different techniques and, the way guys are kind of skating on top of the ice now, more of like a glide mentality. A lot of what I and our coaches really are hammering on is weight transfer and weight shifting. It's a really kind of like new way to move around the ice. And, you're watching guys, even NHLers who are getting in the league now versus a guy who's, 500 game, they're skating totally different. It seems to be a lot more efficient, changing direction, like trying to eliminate a crossover and using like what we've kind of coined a term like a hook turn, which is like, you're sliding on your right foot and you're stepping down with your left instead of like that 2-3 crossover. So giving you optionality, out of a turn or a cutback. But, I think, to be honest, we do a lot of competition, and I know Vex, you do a lot of that stuff in the gym. I think that brings out the most in guys, whether it's a scoring competition or an actual small area game, putting those skills to use and getting guys to think. I think a lot of it's built on repetition. Like our synthetic ice sessions are really built around like technique, form, getting guys releasing pucks the right way. I think, the way the sticks are being built right now, like if you're able to leverage the flex and the kick point of the stick you're using, you take a lot of demand off of like what you need to do physically. It's more of like a technique, and, guys are really able to fire a puck at, age 13, 14 now, the way I was probably not even shooting in college. Like, so, we're always learning. We have like a certification program for our coaches where, we'll get ice and we'll kind of just bounce ideas off each other. It's cool because all of our coaches have played Division I, and most are either playing pro or have played pro. And honestly, like drawing a lot of our drill selection off of what you would work on after a practice. Like if NAR was to grab guys and take guys for the power play, guys at the other end, what are they working on? And it was typically for us, it was, wall pickups, rims, retrievals, quick puck touches, things that put you out of your comfort zone. So come game time, like things slow down. And I think we do a lot of that where, maybe it's 2 pucks as like an extra stimulus, or it's, something that you would never see in a game, but it's going to kind of help you slow things down when that opportunity does come. But we're kind of fighting a battle of like, like you talked about before, like that copycat syndrome on social media, where it's like, oh, I saw this coach had 4 parachutes tied to the kids' legs and, they're jumping out of the penalty box, and yeah, it looks great, but like, what is that actually working on? And the problem is, when you're in this business of, trying to retain players, obviously it's results driven, but a lot of these sessions we run are, on an ice surface where there's other coaches from different, businesses or whatever they are on the same sheet, quadrant off. And, you'll see us do a drill, and then you'll see someone else who's maybe a high school player working with some younger kids copy the same thing. Right. So you think, oh, that might be good or that might be bad, but it's really boils down to like, what's the intention and what's the why behind the drill and what are you trying to get out of it? So we're trying to really, I guess, not expose your weaknesses, but set something up to see where you're lacking and then kind of build from there. Every player needs something different. I think everyone can hammer home skating, shooting, but those little details, we kind of try and pick those out for you and, either back end it with some video to kind of learn, or put you in a setting where you're going to be forced to kind of build that skill until you're comfortable with it.
Gotcha. So take me through like an hour-long session with what you guys do. Take me from preparation for that session, how you guys typically like to start, how you guys like to progress through. How do you kind of manage a typical session? Let's say a small group, 10 to 15 kids type of skate at this time of year.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now it's like, guys are just getting into like the heart of their lifting and stuff. We were talking about that a lot. So we're really not hammering home conditioning on the ice. It's a lot of like activation, puck work. A lot of it's done with a partner. To start the session, we'll usually do some edge work. We're doing a lot of like grip work on the ice with skating, focusing on just like where your toe is fitting into your skate and kind of gripping into the ice, working on starts, transitions, edge work, being smooth into that. And then we'll add some pucks right around the 15-minute mark usually. And that'll be, we'll do some sort of partner warm up for younger guys. It's 1 puck. Sometimes it's 3, you're scanning with 1 puck on your forehand. He passes to your backhand. You go back to your puck on your forehand. A lot of this is kind of ties into just getting your head up, making plays, scanning. And then we'll get into, probably 30 minutes of like game situational drills. Whether that's working off the wall, coming down either 1-on-1, 2-on-1, 2-on-2 with like token pressure. And then probably like the last 10 or 15 minutes will be really, depending on the size of the group, different types of like IQ small area games to kind of implement the skills learned in that session. Like on a really small level, like if it's a small group or a private, then it's like, all right, let's work on a specific zone entry or a specific, type of move that we're going to incorporate that weight shift into that, we can tie into a larger group skate later in the week where guys are kind of able to like implement that into a game.
Gotcha. So there's like a rhyme or a reason. So like the things that you're doing to start practice will then go into the next thing in practice, will then go into the next thing to practice, which will then be the thing that, you're talking about in the small area game at the end.
For sure. Yeah. And like, there's usually a component of this is really hard, like intentionally not conditioning hard. Like, this is something that they've probably never done or puts them in an uncomfortable situation, or they kind of scratch their head and look at you like, are you sure that's how it's, how can I do that? And the cool thing is like all the coaches can do it and show it. So it's not like, hey, juggle these 3 pucks. What do you mean? I don't know. Here, watch this video. It's like, here, no, watch. This is what I mean. I want you using your feet to collect one. Your top hand needs to be strong in order to catch this pass, like whatever it is. And then you kind of build it up from there. But I find, especially with like 15 to 17-year-olds who think they might know it all almost, like you're able to give them a little bit of a slice of humble pie and be like, listen, this is difficult for a reason. You're going to get it. And now, this is something you put in your toolbox. I always think back, like when I was in the American League, we had coach, his last name was Kachuk. I think he's working for Hockey Canada now. He actually might be in the NHL. And his after practice skill sessions were so challenging. And at the time, I was just really nervous to make mistakes and keep my spot on the team. So I was like, let's just get in and out of this. But I wish I put more time into it, because that's the stuff that develops you as a player. Like the flow drills in practice, like that keeps your legs going and that keeps you moving. But, when you're put out of your comfort zone and really challenging yourself, where you're falling in a drill or you're bobbling a puck or you're, whiffing on a shot, I like that. I mean, I think that means you're challenging yourself and you're not just out for a skate. And, that's the biggest thing. Like, we don't want to just run skates. We don't want to just have like a 10 guys, flow game, or 3-on-3. That's it. It's intentional. And the guys seem to respond really well to it. They ask questions and they want to learn. And it forces us to always be learning, which is cool.
Well, that's great too, because you as a coach, obviously, to get that kind of buy-in, you're getting them to understand that. And it's something same as me. I wish I would have understood that at a younger age. Seek out failure, seek out discomfort. Oh, I wasn't good at passing on my backhand. Also, I grew up in a time where they were like, never make a play on your backhand. Yeah. So then I never practiced it. But it would happen in games. Dude, I'm in the American League and I'm skating up the ice and I can't figure out why I keep having pucks go under my toe. I didn't even know what a lie on your stick was. I'm playing in the American League and I didn't have the right lies because of the way I held the stick. But it's like, instead of me chasing answers and chasing, I'm not good at that, let me go expose myself right now. And I don't care if everybody sees, because that instantly means I'm going to learn how to get better at this. And now I can come up with a plan and I can practice and I can develop at it. And I wish I would have had that mindset sooner. It hit me Justin, when I got older.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because a failure success rate in practice is something that a coach can be intentional about. We can make things a little bit harder. We can make things a little bit easier depending on, the drill, the player, the type of skill that we're working on, all of that kind of stuff. And that is something that coaches at the highest levels talk about a lot. How much failure do we want to have in this drill? How much success do we want to have in this drill? So can you give us an example of something that you work on with your players and maybe different ways that you can manipulate the degree of difficulty based upon, we want to have a little bit more success, want it to be a little bit easier, or we want to really challenge them in this type of thing? Can you give us like an example for the coaches that are out there?
Sure. Yeah. I think the easiest thing that comes to mind for me is like, we do let's say there's a drill where the guy's zone entry, cut back, finds the coach, cuts back again for a shot. Like an easy way to add a level of difficulty would be have 2 pucks involved. So you're exchanging on both passes. So now he's not only making a pass, he's receiving a pass at the same time. So as he's passing to me, I'm passing it to him. And to Vex, to your point, like it's usually on your back end and it's usually a bad pass. And I'll let them know like, hey, it's not going to be a good pass. Or sometimes if it's a new kid, like I'll give him a bad pass and watch him look at me like, what the hell? Like, why is it in my feet? And I'll be like, listen, have you ever played NHL or Madden? Like imagine that circle around you. If it's in that circle, you should catch it. And, I'm going to put it behind you. I'm going to force you to open your hips to catch this pass. Or, as you're receiving, you're also catching, or as you're passing, you're also receiving. So it's forcing you to kind of shift your weight into that soft catch unintentionally. You're not realizing it till after. That's one way. Obviously token pressure and real pressure from other players coming down, adds a level of like true read and react. But something we do a lot is like 2 puck exchanges, just because it's a lot of timing and it's always forcing you to be scanning with your head up and being able to react.
Love that. Could you also give us an example of like, you say you work a lot on kind of like skating at the beginning, right? And then that progresses into some stuff with some skill, which progresses into some drills, which progresses into a small area game. Could you give us an example similar to what we just did about like, okay, we're going to work on this to start, some kind of skating technique, skating skill, tactical, technical, whatever it may be, and then how that can progress towards the end. Now we're using this in a small area game.
Sure. I mean, I think the punch turn is a really good example of that. And
can you describe what a punch turn is for people who don't know what that is? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's something I learned as a coach, and like to Vex your point, I wish I knew how to do it as a player. It's not like the skates changed where it was something we couldn't do. It was just never taught. I'd never even seen it until a kid turned on a dime. Like typically, let's say 10 years ago, you're driving down the wall. You want to make used to be a Gretzky turn, like a curl back. That's exactly what it would be. It would be kind of like a looping curl. If you had paint on your blades, it would be like, a big arch. Now, and
you're like using your inside edge on your inside
edge. You're hoping your edge catches, because like half the time you're slipping out if it's not good ice or you didn't get your skates cut. Now, it's a punch turn is the exact opposite. It's on a dime. It's on your outside edge. It's your back foot leading. But, if you step down too hard, you're going to fall over your skates forward. If you don't step down enough, you're just going to continue to slide and not make that turn. And in order to learn it, it almost feels like you're going to blow your knee out, because you have to slide your front foot and catch the ice just enough to get around it with your body and your head. But if you don't catch it and you're too far on your inside edge, you're going to fall forward. Your blade's going to catch and you're going to kind of collapse. Your ankle will collapse down. So like a progression we'll do is like stepping over a stick to slide, just step over the stick, slide, get around it, very slow. Then adding in like punches, multiple punches, just kind of shave. Then it's adding a punch with a turn. And then as the practice, or as, weeks go on and you get comfortable with that movement, then it's driving the wall with someone leaning on your hip, being able to punch, keep the puck on your forehand with your head around your shoulder to find that open man. And, then you realize like, damn, I turned this guy completely on his heels. Right. And you're kind of then teaching the next layer of, all right, let me watch this guy's toe caps. And if I get him to turn his feet the same direction as mine, that should be a trigger in my head. Like, boom, I'm punching out of this turn and either skating with it the other direction or finding someone. And that was something that I kind of picked up on when I was training a college player very early on doing the skill development. I'm like, wait, slow that down for me so I can see it. And then you layer in like, a fake punch. So if I'm going behind the net, I could fake a punch, like do the same motion, but don't turn out of it to the right. And now I could take that punch, turn to the left, and this guy thinks I'm already turning right. So there's a lot of things you can stack into that. Starting off with just a power skating warm up or, an edge work warm up that completely translates right into like a game situation.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting a really good window into what the top level coaches are doing nowadays, as far as teaching and developing skills that will translate to the next level, right? It's progressions. It's starting small and then continue, like practices with themes. Hey, this is the thing we're really working on today, and progressing up into game-like situations that you're actually going to use. And this is something, gosh, years ago, Vex, when we had Adam Nicholas on, right? We started talking about this, and like even incentivizing these skills in the small area games. So like maybe you're doing, I don't know, 3-on-3 cross ice or something like that. And every time you got somebody on your left that's giving you pressure and you punch and you get out of that, that's a point. Incentivizing points for the things that you've been working on. Or maybe you're working on, deception. Well, every time that you execute a pass where your eyes are looking left and you pass it right, that's a point for your team. And then it's 5 points for a goal, things like that. So
one game we do is like, your feet can't leave the ice, and we'll warm up like learning anchoring. Like, you're entering the zone and you're just lifting your left toe just the slightest bit, and that's going to take you left. Like, Kucherov does it all the time. He crosses the blue line and then he's cutting across, but he really, his feet don't leave the ice. He lifts his left toe, he goes left. So like we'll play, we'll warm up with that, we'll work on different routes and stuff like that. And then we'll play a game where it's 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, but you can't take a stride. You're only able to push through your heels and your feet stay on the ice, and you're anchoring, you're seeing guys cutting across, moving, puck forehand to backhand, but it's all with their feet. So that's like, to your point, that's a cool way to kind of tie that all in.
Dude, I love that you just brought that up, because something that we're working on in the gym with more emphasis this summer is like the ability to shift and shimmy while both your feet are anchored, and like you have to make a last millisecond decision off of somebody else's direction, which way you're going to go, and just getting really comfortable with being able to Kucherov coming in, opens up the legs, little shimmy, get the D to go back on his heels. You create a little bit of space, and you pull, whatever, punch, turn, pull away. Now you've got an extra second of space. And it's something that with our warm-ups and our agility and stuff, we're working on like that specific thing.
That's sick.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to go back to here too, if we're getting really granular on some things, and Vex, I'd love to get your take on this too, but the more development coaches that I talk to, particularly that when you talk about skating, weight transfer, and it's funny because like we talked about weight transfer like when we were growing up skating, but it was nothing more than like, all right, go from one leg to the other. There wasn't like much detail that kind of went into it. Justin, you talked about weight transfer being something that you're talking a lot about. Can you tell us why that is and how a kid can help develop their skating and playing ability? And then Vex, I'll ask you the same question in the gym and like how that can translate. But why is weight transfer so important, and what are you doing to help develop that in players?
I think the biggest the easiest thing that comes to mind is like efficiency. Like, and you're saving energy. You're constantly in motion. If you're able to transfer your weight on your inside edge, specifically going backwards, I found, like, I know everyone talks about Cale Makar and like Hudson and all this, but like if you watch the way they're cutting on guys at the blue line, like they're not crossing over. So they're drawing you in. Let's say you're backing up and all your weight's on your left skate. Let's say you're a lefty. So your puck's on your forehand side, you're showing shot, but you receive a pass, you're backing up. You have a lot of options there. You can pass, you can shoot, you can kind of bring the puck across your body. Traditionally, guys would then either cross over or full turn out of it. But if you're able to shift your weight from your left inside edge to your right inside edge, and like to Vex, to your point, like being low and stable on one leg and transferring the weight, you're going to keep that momentum and speed into that step going downhill on your right skate. So like that's a big area we see it. And then a lot of times too, like that open close with your hip, like on an entry or behind the net where you're, using like the old like Mohawk to protect the puck.
Mohawk 10 and 2. Yeah.
The puck moves with your weight now. So like you're really extended. Puck goes back, weight goes to your right foot. Then it goes back in front of you to your left foot. It's giving you more range, I think. And it's also just kind of giving you versatility for like different routes to get out of a situation.
Yeah. Love that. Vex, how about
you're smoother? Like your turns are smoother. You're not digging as much into the ice. Like if you're really far knee over toe, like not just knee bend, but like I tell guys, if you look down and you could see your toe caps, I don't care how much your knees are bent, your shin angle's wrong. So if you're really over your toe, like you're going to have such a more consistent glide and you're just going to maintain speed without, again, like being efficient. You're not going to gas yourself out taking a million choppy steps.
Well, let's talk about that really quick before we get to you, Vex, because Vex, I don't remember who it was that we were talking to, but it was not too long ago, but also not too short ago. But they were talking about, like, if you want to get better, I think the question was almost like, how do you, maybe it was a strength coach. Maybe it was with like Nickel and Boyle and all those guys, where we were kind of like, hey, what can you do in the gym to get better skating on the ice? And they were kind of like, whoever it was like, well, there's only so much you can do in the gym. What matters is that your stride is efficient. You want to have the most efficient stride possible. So that's more important than, the gym stuff. So you mentioned stride efficiency. Like, if you're talking to skating coaches, if you're talking to development coaches or youth coaches, how can you help them to help kids be more efficient in their strides?
Honestly, it starts with buy-in. Like, the hardest part of getting a kid to work on skating is getting a kid to work on skating. They look at it as like, all right, when this is over, we're warmed up, or like, and then like we do a lot of straight power skating sessions, and then people are expecting to get bag skated, which it's not that either. It's really simple movements. Like, I'll say, okay, walk from the goal line to the top of the circles on your toes without gliding. Everyone thinks it's easy. I would bet you even most AAA hockey players at 15 couldn't do it, right? Their whole blade's going to collapse. Their ankle's going to collapse. They're going to start to kind of slip and slide. So it's like we've talked about all day, like getting out of your comfort zone and feeling something new, and not just thinking that you know what you know. But it starts with knee bend. It really does. And it's an uncomfortable position to stay in. Like, go for 30 seconds with your knees over your toes standing. You're going to be tired. Your legs are going to start to shake. And like, that's kind of why you spend that time in the gym, is to get comfortable in those positions and to be able to create force out of those positions, so that, the technique does what it's supposed to. But you need to get low enough in order to do that.
Knee bend. How many kids do you have to fix where they're like bending from their back and not from their knees?
Totally. I wish there was some sort of, Vex is going to invent it now, but I wish there was something where you could like strap your knee pad to your toe cap and it like pulled you forward or something. I remember when I was a kid, there was something that went to your pants to like the bottom of your skates. It was like a bungee. I don't think it ever took off, but yeah, like something that just reinforces it. Without, if any rink you walk in, I'm sure you'll hear the coach, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees. Every dad, bend your knees. But it's like, bending your knees and then knee over toe is two different things too.
Let me ask you this, because I feel like when we were growing up and we were being taught how to skate, and it still is important to a certain degree, but there's a little bit of a debate in the skating community on this, and that is like the recovery. So like when we were skating, you wanted to have your stride as long as you can.
Yeah. Right.
So you want to like kick the toe, full extension. And then it was the recovery all the way back, like almost heel to heel every time is what you wanted to do. Yeah. But I feel like nowadays skating coaches are not as much like focusing on the recovery part of it. Like, you still want to bend your knees and get that full extension, but like that recovery back isn't as important to some skating coaches as it used to be. Are you hearing the same things? What are you seeing from looking at stride and all that kind of stuff?
Kind of, yeah, exactly that. Like recovery, where you would like the old drill where you drag your toe and kick your heel, I think is like very young, just to build getting your feet back under your hips. But now I think like heel to heel is maybe dated, and now it's like bringing your stride foot to your glide foot's toe. So you're stepping to the next. Like if your right foot goes out and you're on your recovery, you want to bring it to where your left toe is, so that on your next push, you're already ahead of your stride. And you're kind of really your glide foot, I think, plays as big, if not more of a role than your stride foot. And if your ankle is stable and you're not, weavering back and forth, and like, we'll do a drill where it's simple. You're just gliding blue line to blue line on one foot. And you'll see most kids' ankles start to collapse. And that means that if you're skating straight line, or you think you're skating straight line, you might be kind of varying right to left, right to left, right to left, because your foot can't stay stable with your knee bend. So like, putting a kid, let's say top of the circles all the way down, you get a few hard strides, and then you go knee over toe, 1 foot. Most will either fall, or the ankle will cave, or they'll start to kind of go in like an S pattern. Like an elite skater will lock into that position. and that'll kind of build a strong glide. So if you're pushing, your glide foot's stable, your next stride should be starting where your previous stride ended. So you're kind of like stepping downhill almost.
Yeah, makes sense. And the one thing, like I heard this years ago, but it like totally blew my mind about this stuff, that like most of your stride is done on one leg. Like very rarely when you're actually skating are you having both blades on the ice at the same time. And so that's why it's like so important for like balance drills and stuff like that, even in the gym, Vex. But let's go back to you, Vex, like, cause I wanted to ask you too, we started this with weight transfer and then we kind of went in a different, beautiful way with stride efficiency. But how important is weight transfer with what you do in the gym, and how does that translate into better skaters, better players on the ice?
Well, it's like he's saying, like efficiency is everything. Like if you help somebody, movement efficiency is really important. And then you have to like load those in all different planes of motion. Hockey isn't just played in one plane. We're skating in all different directions. We're crossing over, we're rotating, so there's forces coming from all different directions while you're skating. And one of the most important things is, and I say this to the guys all the time, you have to be able to express skill while you're being powerful and fast on the ice. So like there's times where we sprint and we're just sprinting all out and I don't care. Like it's just absolute max effort. And then there's times where we're doing like quick change of direction. And yes, I want them quick and fast and explosive, but I don't want them sacrificing control of their upper body, their head and their eyes while they're doing that, because we in hockey have to express skill with the stick. It's not even with our hand. Like if you're throwing a baseball, it's a lot easier to like run sideways and throw a baseball than it is if you're like skating and you're completely out of control and you're trying to use a stick that's 4 feet long and make a pass, because it's a further lever. So it's harder to control it and it's not part of your body. It's something that's outside of your body. So what I'm trying to say is like when we're focusing on change of direction, efficiency in your body's mechanics and movements, when you do think of like you run 10 yards, you stop and you come back. Young players, when they stop, it looks completely different than older, well-trained athletes, because they know about, okay, timing, the rhythm to stop, shin angles, contort your body so that you can come out efficiently, effectively when you're changing, where force is being applied, which foot, things like that. And so those are all things that you can work on in the gym, which then makes it even easier to understand on the ice. But then obviously strength training, like we do in my gym, and all of my training, most of our training is unilateral in nature. Unilateral means like one limb at a time. So like think like walking lunges, rear foot elevate, split squats, step ups, things like that, versus back squat, deadlift on 2 legs, very stiff. It doesn't mean we don't do those things, but we do more of the other because you're learning how to use each leg independently. And like Toph just said on the ice, it's one leg at a time. You're shooting off one leg a lot. You're turning off one leg, or it's like an 80-20 weight shift. And if somebody bumps you and you're not strong on that single leg, you can't express skill. You can't keep the puck. You fall over, all these things. Then the other piece of that is also going to be like in just like controlling your own body. Like, think about a boxer and how they bounce. They time that bounce, their punches with the bounce. On the ice, what Selly's talking about when we're changing direction, when you do a punch turn, when you dig one heel and you rotate turn like Kucherov does when he enters a zone, there's some rhythm to that. There's timing on the weight shift. And those are things that, again, you can be working on off the ice to understand how like your brain needs to send that signal to your body to fire on the weight transfers. So like not just doing traditional strength training, which is like powerlifting, bodybuilding, just lifting weights on 2 legs all the time. You got to like your training should look athletic in some parts of the training. Yes, there's lifting. Yes, there's jumping. Yes, there's running. Yes, there's flow and fluidity. And as hockey players, I think it's so hard to train because we have to be good at all these things. It's not just one skill. It's 10 skills at a time that you have to put into one moving body.
Well, there's also like a conditioning component to that too, because the more efficient you are with your body, and let's just even talk about skating, like the less energy you're going to have to put out to make up for the lack of efficiency that you have. And that's something that we even talked about when I was working at Cornell, and we knew we needed to get faster. Like, hey, this is going to help us to win third periods. The more efficient skaters that we have, the better skaters that we have, like the way that we wanted to play aggressively and wearing teams down, like those two are one and the same, right? So like you don't have to provide so much energy to being a good skater when you are efficient at it, or body movement for that matter, as far as like being around the entire ice.
Yeah. And think about this. Like I tell my guys all the time, we're not track. We don't do track. It's not one sprint. So like, yeah, I want you to be really fast, but I care more about you having the ability to be really fast every shift, every game, than I care about you getting 1 mile an hour faster in a 40-yard dash or something.
In a straight line. Hockey's not played in a straight line.
But but it's, for me, it's the ability and the capacity to go fast a lot is more important in hockey than getting just a tiny bit faster.
The drop off in your time, let's say from the third period to the first for your first shift.
That's what wins you games when we talk about like team speed. It's not just, every guy is the fastest guy on the ice. It's they're just as fast in the third as they are in the first, as they are in game 45, as they are in game 1. That's what matters.
When it's like a balance of conditioning and efficiency, right?
Yes.
Like, it's not just like the guys in the best shape doing suicides is not going to be the guy who might be in the best shape in the third period, because he's conserving energy where he needs to, and he's making the right calls when he has to.
Right. Dude, think about all the best players we played with. Some of the best players I played with, like at the end of the game, I am freaking drenched in sweat. I am dead. Best player on the ice. He's sweating. He's barely sweating. He played just as much as me. His efficiency and his movements and his brain and how he sees the game. He was way more efficient than I was. And like, as I got older, I realized efficiency is just as important as strength, speed, and power.
Yeah, they talk about Scott Niedermayer back in the day, right? Like play like 30 minutes a night and like wouldn't
floated
even break
around
a
the
sweat.
ice.
Just incredible. Well, Justin, we've had you on here for close to an hour. This was great. We started talking about the insanity of summer hockey and turned it into an awesome like deep dive into some skill development stuff that you're doing here. So, man, we really appreciate your time. And where can people find you? Like, obviously your company is Topline Hockey, but you do some stuff on social media and you got a really big presence out there in the Eastern United States. Like, where can people find Topline Hockey and Justin Selman?
Yeah, you can find us at Topline Hockey's, our Instagram, and all our social channels. Our website's tlhockey.com. A lot of guys, we offer New York City, I would say, is a pretty cool destination for people to come for a weekend. Like, guys will come in from Canada. We actually did a camp in China 2 years ago, and we're going back this summer again. And a lot of the players that we met at that camp will come visit during like a holiday or something and skate with us. So if you're ever in the New York, New Jersey area, reach out to us. We have a ton of options at different rinks and different training facilities in the area. We'd love to, hop on and get a session with you guys.
And these guys are money. Everything they do is money. They are freaking awesome.
100%.
One of our favorite guys in the hockey world, man. I appreciate you taking the time here. And if you don't follow these guys on Instagram, follow Topline Hockey. They do awesome stuff.
Appreciate you guys. This was awesome. Love nerding out about this stuff. And, hopefully some parents and players get to see, you can get better and get to the next level without, traveling across the country all summer and spring.
Amen. Thanks.
Unless they're going to New York, New Jersey to work with Topline Hockey.
Come watch the World Cup and you can train.
There you go. It all comes down to this: a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sportsbook app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series, all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas. Bet text pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28. Terms at dkng.co/audio.